Hello and welcome to this week's guidance for our raw material. I am Tavish Cardiff. It is Ignorance Week, so we'll be talking about the ignorance pillar. And I just have a couple stories to jump in on from my own perspective. One of my first experiences with ignorance was, of course, with my parents. And my dad, we were down at the lake. And I was a pretty good skier as a kid, and I was 16 in a bikini, thinking I was really super cool. There were a bunch of drunk guys on the dock next to us who were going out skiing, or potentially drunk, soon to be drunk. I was already with a bunch of drunk people, but they were drunk people that I knew and knew me. I wanted to go skiing. They had invited me to go, and my dad would not let me go. And I was so angry at him. In fact, I pouted like the whole rest of the weekend and missed out on all kinds of fun, namely water balloon, like slingshot. We had one of those, and I had to pretend like I was not into it because I was pouting about not getting to go skiing with the drunk guys. And in my own defense, I really just saw it as my dad didn't want me to have fun, and I did not think about my safety. He didn't point out why. He just said, hell no. But, and understandably, I get it now, but that's my own personal ignorance. And my big experience with ignorance is realizing, wow, I was so far off base from what his reason was that I couldn't see anything but something that was negative for me. I couldn't see that he was being a good parent and looking out for me and keeping me from the thing that I was excited to do or show off or whatever was, just not a consideration of his in that time or space, and nor should it have been. So, lesson number one. The other one is a lot more recent experience for me. A few years ago in the news, Monica Lewinsky and Linda Tripp came back around, probably around the Stormy Daniels thing. And I was walking through the house and someone said, "Who was Linda Tripp again?" And I whirled around. I'm like, oh, she was this woman that I started to have all of the beliefs that I held before. She was looking for her 15 minutes of fame. She was, just trying to grab the spotlight. She was just wanted to stick it to the president. Whatever reasons I had been told or conditioned around my belief system at the time came up, but my current day, oh hell no, showed up in its place. And I realized I'm in the position that Linda Tripp would have been in now, looking at it, thinking, here's a 22-year-old girl having sex with the president, and I don't want her doing that. I don't want him doing that. I don't want him running the country doing that. It had nothing to do with her own personal gain or trying to gain for herself, but somehow we collectively believed that. So ignorance is really stepping outside of what you don't know or you didn't know yesterday, and now you know it today. And I'll leave it with a challenge, which is pay attention to how often you define another person or judgment by just a few words. So someone cuts you off in traffic, jerk. You don't really give much thought to why they cut you off or what they might be beyond a jerk. So really, when you categorize someone else or when you define them or when you just say they are, one or two sentences, when they're actually like you, a dynamic, changing, constantly in a state of reworking your own personal knowledge being. So just notice how often you do it, and what that does is allow you to breathe and back up and maybe create a different story for them. Get yourself into imagination and create a backstory that is just as silly as deciding that a person is one note. The story doesn't have to be real for you to make up a reason that what they did doesn't have to bother you. The question for ignorance is always, how much of everything there is to know do you think that you personally know? And the more that you invest in that question, the more that you can step back and listen for the answers to the people around you for the little part that they know. I will be back next week to talk about what's up next, emotion. We start the cycle over again with the emotional, spiritual, mental, physical. So we'll be doing emotion, listening, values and ideals, and conflict are the next four teed up. And then we will cap it off with the final 4 weeks. And by then we'll be into spring with a whole new attitude and a whole new way to approach our own raw material and our place in the world, as everything around us seems to be catching on fire or freezing. Have a great week.